Okay, I've been trying to fix this camera angle for the past 10 minutes now, so hopefully this looks okay. If it doesn't, I'm really sorry. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I thought we could do a little roundup of my favorite makeup brushes of all time. If you're new to my channel, makeup is a massive passion of mine, but one thing that I find that people don't tend to talk a lot about when they're doing makeup videos is the tools and brushes that they use. And for me, when it comes to makeup, I find that your makeup brushes and what you use to apply your makeup really has an effect on how your makeup looks, on the finish, on the coverage of everything that you use. So I thought I might as well just show you guys what I use when I am doing my makeup. All of these, or the majority of these, are very affordable brushes, and they are very easily accessible brushes to you. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and let's get started. Okay, so for primer, I tend to just use my hands for primer, so I don't have anything to show you for primer, but we're gonna move on to foundation straight away. So for foundation, I tend to use one of these three tools. So I either tend to use brushes or a beauty blender. First of all, a beauty blender. You can get so many different versions of beauty blenders. This is the original one. You can get ones from any makeup brand at this point. My favorites are the beauty blender one and the Coco Cosmetics sponge. What a beauty blender does is essentially it blends out your foundation, obviously, or whatever cream product that you want to use, but the finish that it gives is more on the natural airbrush side of things. A lot of the time the sponge is going to soak up a lot of the cream liquid product, so therefore if you want kind of like a lighter coverage, or maybe, you know, you have a full coverage makeup but you want to kind of like dull it down a bit, a beauty blender is going to be your best option. And then we go in with brushes. So the two foundation brushes that I always use, these are my two favorite brushes to use no matter what type of foundation I am using. The first one is the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH03 brush. Now you can get a variation of this that isn't in this collab on their website, so just to let you know as well, I will leave everything linked down below, so if you're looking for all these individual brushes, I will have them linked, so just check in the description box. But the reason I really like this one is, as you can see, it is quite a dense, thick brush, and what this is going to do is it's going to give me a lot of coverage, and it's also as well going to cover a lot of the surface area of my face. I love this. It is probably my favorite foundation brush when I really want like very full coverage makeup. I really like this. And then the other brush that I use when I do want full coverage but not as full coverage as say when I use this brush, this is the P. Louise, and it is the 681 brush. So as you can see, it's still quite a dense brush, just like the Morphe one, except it's a little bit more fluffy. So there's a lot of bristles. They're very high compacted bristles, but it still has that flexibility to move the product around your face, whereas this one, it's going to keep the product exactly where it's placed, which will in turn give you more full coverage because it's not being spread out, where this one's going to spread out a little bit more, but because it has such thick dense bristles, it's still going to give you the coverage while also spreading out around your face. So that's what I love to use for foundation. For concealer, I'm just such a brush person when it comes to concealer. I find that it always makes sure that I get the most amount of coverage out of my concealer. Personally for me, if I'm using concealer, I'm not using concealer just as like an extra layer. I'm using concealer to hide something, so therefore I want the most amount of coverage. Now I know a lot of people will go straight in with beauty blenders, and like I said, a beauty blender is something that I do use with concealer, but I use it after my brush. But if you were to go in with your beauty blender for concealer, what it's going to do is it's going to lighten the coverage a little bit, it's going to spread it out a lot more sheerly, but a brush is going to make sure that the product stays exactly where you've placed it and give you the most amount of coverage. So the brush that I always use for concealer, and I literally have never used anything else, this, as you can see, is gone all manky. It is the Real Techniques. This is actually their setting brush. This was in like a limited edition packaging, but you can get this brush just on its own. As you can see, it's quite fluffy, but again, like the foundation brushes, it is quite dense. I also just want to say apologies for the dirty makeup brushes, but I had to do my makeup today, and of course I'm only going to do my makeup with the brushes that I love, so you're gonna have to deal with the fact that they're absolutely manky. But I love this, like I said there, that it is super dense but super fluffy. I love the size of it. I think it's like perfect for your under eyes, so it brings the product right under your under eyes without it being too small, because sometimes when you're working with a smaller concealer brush it takes forever to blend out. And I also find that you tend to get a lot of streaks on your makeup purely because that there is nothing kind of blending out the edges. With a smaller brush you're really looking at like really fine tips, so it kind of leaves streaks, whereas this I could literally just use this without having to go in my beauty blender afterwards and it would still look flawless. But also, like I said, if I do want to maybe sheer out the product a little bit, maybe I put on too much product, I will use this first and then go in with the beauty blender to just kind of sheer it out a bit or pick up any excess product. So that is my favorite concealer brush. Okay, for cream bronzer I have two. Now I actually want to speak about this one first, because this end of the brush I don't use for cream bronzer, but I do use it for, you know, products like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter or the e.l.f. Halo Glow. I love this side of this brush for that. This is the Refi double-ended brush. It's a little bit on the pricier side. I think it's about €25, but you're getting two brushes for €25, so I do think it is worth it. But what I love about this side is, as you can see, it is a dual fiber brush, so it is quite dense and it is one of those like stippling brushes, so it's quite, it doesn't basically pick up as much product and it doesn't really add any coverage to your product. What this does is, with those type of products, it just spreads it around my skin and makes sure that it is all even on my skin without adding coverage, without taking away coverage. It's just the perfect brush for that. Same with skin tints. This end of the brush is literally perfect for skin tints because it keeps it as what it says the product is going to be. So like a skin tint or even like the Halo Glow, it just spreads the product evenly. But onto cream bronzer, the reason I love this side of this is, as you can see, it is so densely packed. There is no movement on there. So what I found with this brush is, although it packs on the product, I can still blend out with this brush, which I absolutely love. I will pick up my product, literally like 2 taps, and stamp it onto my face, and then once it's stamped onto my face I can then start blending it out. And it is just the perfect size for cream contour because it fits in the hollows of your cheeks, it fits on your forehead, and you can also do your nose with it as well without spreading the product too far. If you're to get one brush from this video, make it be this one. Another cream contour brush that I love is this. This is the Blank Canvas F84 brush. This brush has an angle, which again, it is perfect for the hollows of your cheeks because it just fits in there exactly where it's meant to be. It fits on your forehead. It is a bit of a struggle on your nose, I'm not gonna lie, but this again, it's a tightly compacted brush. So when I again want a full coverage cream bronzer base, I will use this to properly stamp on my cream bronzer. The only thing with this one is I tend to always have to go in with my sponge, purely for the fact, I don't know whether it's the shape, I don't know whether it's the bristles, but it tends to move product quite easily. I do think it is because it's such a large headed brush that it tends to, yeah, just drag product down. So what I tend to do is I tend to place my product with this brush while it keeps the coverage and kind of really pack in where I want it, and then just to blend out the edges of everything, I'll go back in with my beauty blender. Okay, moving on to cream blusher brush. The only one that I will ever use and that I've used for years and years and years is the Blank Canvas F36. So as you can see, well, it was again one of those brushes where it is kind of like a duo fiber brush, but this one, compared to the Refi one, this one is more like a prickly stippling brush, whereas this is more like a dense compacted brush. You could use this for powder, you can literally use this for whatever you want, but personally for me, I love it for cream blush purely because of the size. So if you look at this compared to my foundation brush size, it is very small and precise. So what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that my blusher is placed exactly where I want it. Can you see how small this looks against my face? It looks so small, and what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that my blusher doesn't move into a different position that I don't want it to be. So where I tend to usually place my blusher is up on the tops of my cheeks. So when I blend it, it means it is blending just there and it's not going anywhere near my contour because it is so small. I will say it does keep a lot of coverage, so say something like the Rare Beauty blush, I tend to use a lot less of the Rare Beauty blush purely for the fact that because I know how dense this brush is, so therefore it's going to keep the coverage of that blush. It's not going to sheer it out. You know, if anyone has used that Rare Beauty blush, you know that if you use a beauty blender with it, even if you put on too much, you can blend it away. Whereas if you use a brush like this with that product and use a lot of that product, there is no saving yourself, because this keeps the coverage of your blushes, which is why I really like it, because again, it means I tend to use less product while still getting the same effect. For powder, I have 3 different versions that I like to use for powder. All I use for different areas and all I use for different reasons. So we'll just start off with the main one, which is what I tend to use for like my under eyes. So I tend to use these 2 tools for my under eyes. The first one being this brush. This is my favorite under eye setting brush. Again, it's just one of those brushes that fits perfectly where I want it to fit. It is the perfect amount of density in a brush. This is the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH07 brush. So as you can see, it is a small, tapered, fluffy, yet still quite dense brush. And what I love about this is that literally, as you can see, fits perfectly underneath my eyes. And again, it just is the perfect size for that area, hence why I tend to use it mainly for my under eyes and then setting like the middle of my forehead and my chin, because it fits in those areas very nicely versus say like a bigger brush, where if I was trying to go in with this, first of all, I can't get right underneath my lashes, I can't get right into my creases, so my under eyes aren't going to be properly set. And it just means as well that this, see how thick and dense this is going to pack on powder, which can tend to make it look quite cakey, whereas this, even though it's dense, it's still quite fluffy, so you can apply a perfect amount of powder without your under eyes looking cakey. So that is why I love this. However, another newer favorite that I've been loving is using a powder puff. Now this is the Trigwell Cosmetics powder puff. These are quite popular, but a lot of brands do them. You can get packs of these on Amazon for literally like no amount, and you can get like 10 in a pack. I at first was not a fan of the powder puff trend. I was like, there is no way, and I tried it and I hated it. And then a couple of weeks back I jumped back on it. I just wanted to see, and I have been loving it. I think personally I prefer to set with a loose powder with the brush, and then when it comes to a pressed powder, I like to use this. So say like the Charlotte Tilbury finishing powder, so more of a finishing powder than a setting powder, I will use this to pick up the product and then pat it under my eyes, and it just makes my under eyes look so flawless. It's great for baking, and as well you can fold this to a very precise shape, say like your under eyes or say even like nose contour. You can really tailor this product, this tool, to where you want it and what you want to use it for. So I really like this recently. And then like I just showed you, this is the Blank Canvas F24. So I absolutely love this brush for the rest of my face, so like the perimeters of my face and for touch-ups. As you can see, she is big, she's thick, she's fluffy, she's dense. What I love about it is I can pack on the powder and literally go right underneath my contour, and as you can see, it literally fits the whole area between my contour and like the bottom half of my face. And when I'm doing touch-ups as well, it literally is just so quick and easy. Pop in your powder, bam 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 bam, all over your face, done in 2 seconds. And it's quick, it's efficient, and it gets the job done. It's so easy, and like I said, it is perfect for the perimeters of my face, so that is why I use this. Powder, bronzer slash contour. The only 2 powder, bronzer slash contour brushes that I will use are these 2. One is P. Louise and one is Blank Canvas. So the first one is the P. Louise. This is from their Cancel collection, but I'm sure they do another version of it. This is a 638 brush. This brush here, as you can see, first of all, it's a natural haired brush, so we'll talk about that in a minute, but it is also angled and quite dense yet fluffy. So I haven't had to talk about it yet. It's more in eye products that you tend to see this, but a white haired brush tends to mean it is like a natural haired brush. What a natural haired brush will tend to be like is it doesn't pick up a lot of product. It is a very natural tool to use. It tends to mean that it's going to give you the finish and the coverage that the product is intended for. And I really love these types of brushes when it comes to something that can end up being quite heavy, like bronzer. What I love about this though is that, as I said, it's angled, so like the other cream contour brushes, it fits in the hollows of my cheeks perfectly and on my forehead, and I can just stamp it on like so and on my nose, and bish bash bosh, you're happy out. It is just the perfect bronzer brush in my opinion. It washes so well, even though it's natural hair. I know a lot of people say natural hair brushes tend to, they can shed a lot more, they can, you know, become out of shape and damaged a lot more, but I have literally found that this has stayed perfectly in its shape. I love this so much. The angle just makes it so easy. It disperses the product beautifully and it keeps the coverage of the product that I want. Then if we're to move on to something that's a little bit more dense, this is the Blank Canvas F15. This is quite a popular bronzer brush slash contour brush. As you can see, it is very rounded and tapered, so it is perfect for contour because it literally fits in the hollows of your cheeks and it is super precise. I really like this when I have maybe a more full coverage product that I want to use, because it means that it'll keep that full coverage product in its place because it is such a dense and compact bristle head. It means that, you know, when I am placing that full coverage product, it's not going to go all over my face, but as you can see, it is still fluffy, so it means the edges of this product are going to blend out that product. So that is why I love this for more full coverage products. It's going to keep them in the same place that I put them, but it's also going to blend out the edges without it moving around my face. Okay, for blusher, this brush is the only brush I will ever use for blusher. I have not found another blusher brush that I love as much as I love this one. This is by an Irish brand. This is the Rebelluna or 04. As you can see, she's big. She's a lot bigger than my cream blush product, and that is because when I tend to do powder blush, I really like a more of a sheer look of blush. I'm not a person that loves a really heavy looking blush. That's where this comes in. As you can see, she is so fluffy. There's like so much bend to her. All of her bristles bend, not just the top half, literally all of them bend. So it means that it's going to make sure that the product and the coverage that it gives is very light. And it means that when I'm, say, using a blusher that maybe is a bit more pigmented, I know that this brush is going to save me if I do end up picking up too much product, because it's so fluffy that it will just blend itself out. And it's just great as well if you're someone who tends to be quite heavy-handed with product, you know you're safe with this brush. So this is why I love it so much. But if you are more of a full coverage blush person, this might not be your ideal. Then for nose contour, this is a really random brush, but it is the only brush I use for nose contour. I only tend to do nose contour when I am, say, going out or doing a more full coverage look. Otherwise I'll just slap my bronzer brush all over my face. But for when I am specifically doing nose contour, I use the Blank Canvas E80. And the reason I use this brush is, again, it's a natural haired brush, so what it is going to make sure that I don't do is put on too much product that can't be blended out. These brushes tend to not pick up as much product as a synthetic hair brush, so that is why I love it for nose contour. It's quite thick, fat and large, but that is what I like in a nose contour. I'm not someone who likes the type of nose contours where it is literally like you can see the lines drawn on. I like something that is just a bit more subtle, but you can tell there's a bronze on the nose. So it literally fits perfectly on the sides of my nose, underneath the bridge, and like I said, because it's so fluffy, it blends itself out. So I think it is the perfect nose contour brush, and it can also be used for so many other things as well, like you could figure it out. Okay, then moving on to all of our eye brushes. I'm not going to go through individual eye brushes, but I just want to kind of give you the general brands that I love for eye looks. I am not someone who does crazy eye looks. This is more for someone who is more into natural makeup and more kind of just loves a wash of color. However, what I will say is the brand that I will give the biggest shout out to for carving out your brows is P. Louise. P. Louise has ones that come with her paints, and then she has just a general base brush. Both I love. As you can see, the one that comes with the paints usually has an ombre effect. Sorry about my nails. Usually has an ombre affected brush, and the one that's for the base tends to be quite a lot bigger and thicker. I love both, but particularly the one that comes with the paints I absolutely love for carving out my brows, because it is so small, it's so precise, and as you can see it's very dense, whereas the one for the base is great like that. If you do have an eye base that you want to put on, it just gets it on there and it keeps the coverage of the eye base. So P. Louise as a brand for carving out brows are my ultimate favorite. I literally do not use anything else other than these brushes. And then we have just our general eye brushes. So the ones that I tend to use the most for say just fluffy crease brushes are these ones are Zoeva and also P. Louise. Again, P. Louise just provides very good brushes. These are all natural haired. As you can see, I'm more of a natural haired brush person when it comes to eye brushes, purely because, like I said, I do a lot more natural looks, so I don't need the coverage of say a synthetic haired brush. They are my favorite brand for the fluffy crease brushes. For kind of more dense lid packing brushes, the favorites are the Zoeva ones and also P. Louise. As you can see, again, they are natural haired brushes, and again, yeah, they're all kind of similar shapes, similar sizes. They're just the best I find for packing on say color to the lid, or even just packing on like powders onto your lids if you just want to set your eyes. And then these two are my favorites for their specific jobs. So the first one is for liner. My favorite is the P. Louise cancelled one. Because she is a makeup artist, she makes a lot of products for her makeup artists. So this is such a thinned liner brush. As you can see, you can barely even see the line when I put it forward. It is super precise, super dense, so I know that my liner isn't going to go astray. It's going to keep it exactly where it is. But this is literally my favorite brush for liner, and I would really recommend it to anyone. It's an easy brush to use for liner. You don't feel like you have to, you know, be super precise. It's very easy to clean it up because it's so thin. I just really love this. And then say for something like inner corner highlight or brow highlight or even nose highlight, lip highlight, whatever, this is my favorite brush. Again, by P. Louise. It is their 122 brush. Super small, it's super dense, and it is just perfect for getting in like little crevices like your inner corners, your brow bone, you know, your lips, your nose. It's just super small and perfect. And although not a brush, I did want to just give a shout out to my lash curler. This is probably the best lash curler I have personally found from all the lash curlers I've used. This is the Morphe lash curler. This cost me I think like €5. It is so good at curling your lashes. You can also get see this red thing, it's a silicone pad. They come with refillable silicone pads, so you know when this one gets a bit tatty and dirty, you can just whack that one in the bin or wash it or whatever and stick on a new one. I've had this now, I'd say, for 5-6 years at this point, and it literally has never failed me. I love it so much. It's so easy to clean. It's not metal on the handles, so I feel like it doesn't hurt me. I feel like the springs have stayed really well. It's a really good lash curler if you were looking for one. So guys, that is a full run through of all of my favorite makeup brushes and tools that I use when I'm doing my makeup. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do this video for a very long time because I've realized over the past, like, I'd say 3, 4, even 5 years, I've consistently used these same makeup brushes over and over again, and that to me just shows that these makeup brushes not only stand the test of time, but they also clearly are just like very good brushes if I keep going back to them. Like I said earlier, I will 100% leave everything down below for you guys, so you can just shop them the way that you want. If you want, you know, 1 or 2 of one, or whatever way you want to do it, everything will be linked individually down below. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.